What this priest just said about UFOs just cost him everything. Stephen Rossetti, a Catholic priest and exorcist, recently drew a direct connection between aliens and the spiritual realm. Even though he presented this strictly as his personal opinion, the Catholic Church swiftly stepped in and stripped him of his duties. But what exactly was so dangerous about his theory on UFOs that forced the institution to completely silence him? Let's look at the full story to get to the bottom of this. Recently, there has been a lot of talk about UFOs and aliens. Whether we hear about people in charge claiming that they exist, or major Hollywood studios like Universal Pictures releasing films like Disclosure Day that are literally about unveiling that aliens are real, for some reason, the idea of life on other planets interacting with us on our planet has become a prime focus. But why? Why does it seem that after years of global leaders and the media completely rejecting anything that had to do with aliens, they are now all of a sudden seemingly suggesting it's a possibility? Did they finally find undeniable evidence? Or is there a much more calculated reason for the sudden shift in the public narrative? Since the beginning of time, humanity has been obsessed with this idea. Ancient civilizations believed sky people existed, and much like today, they shared stories of their interactions with mankind. They drew hieroglyphs depicting what appeared to be flying discs or strange beings descending from the sky. While many assume these records document encounters with otherworldly visitors, we have never been able to fully identify what these entities actually were. Were they truly aliens who helped advance civilization, as some researchers suggest? Or were they something else entirely? According to this priest, everything you have been told about aliens is completely wrong. They are not biological entities traveling through space and crashing on Earth. They are something much more spiritual, and their purpose here has absolutely nothing to do with advancing humanity. Stephen Rossetti recently made a video about his views on UFOs, and it turned his life upside down. After dedicating his life to the church and eventually earning the right to become an exorcist, he was removed from his duties because of what he claimed. According to Stephen, what many believe are aliens are something else entirely. He referred to them as demons, claiming that what people believe to be UFOs or extraterrestrials are actually spiritual entities. Take a listen to what he had to say.
That is it. Demons like to hide. They don't want us to know they're around. They don't want us to know what they're doing because they're more effective when we don't realize it. Demons indeed can break into the physical world, and at times they can be seen. We actually have some photos of such things, and that we have documented that. Sometimes people will see shadow men. Many people who are possessed will see indistinct dark shadows, possessed houses, globes of light, all sorts of things, and more direct manifestations, evil hands, we've seen that, and actually images of beast-like creatures. So at times, demons will be manifest in this world. I had an incident not too long ago where someone who had a particular gift, and we've documented that gift, and she was shown a picture of a UFO. She said it's a demon. He thought that this person was possessed by aliens. I'm going, what? That's nonsense. That aliens, if there are aliens, don't possess people. That's nonsense. Again, it's demons trying to hide and trying to manipulate and disguise themselves.
If what he is saying is true, it completely changes how we view the last 70 years of sightings across the world. Stephen claims that every time a person feels they have encountered an alien, or when we hear those unverified claims of people being abducted, they aren't actually dealing with extraterrestrials. Instead, he believes these are spiritual attacks in disguise. He specifically states that aliens can't possess people, but spirits can. As you might expect, these claims did not go over well with the institution. Almost immediately after his statement started gaining traction, the church publicly distanced itself from his views. They made it clear that his theories regarding extraterrestrials and spiritual entities did not reflect their official teachings.
Archdiocese of Washington just removed a prominent priest and a top exorcist after he publicly suggested UFOs could actually be demons. Monsignor Stephen Rossetti, he's a priest, a psychologist, and a longtime exorcist for the Archdiocese of Washington, posted a video claiming that many, if not most, UFO sightings may be demonic activity meant to deceive or manipulate people. As a result, Cardinal Robert McElroy removed Rossetti from his role as an exorcist and cut official ties with his nonprofit, the St. Michael Center.
Shortly after the backlash, Stephen actually issued a public apology. He walked back his initial comments, stating that it was never his intention to cause confusion or challenge established doctrine. However, for many people watching this unfold, the apology raises even more questions. It left a lot of viewers wondering if he genuinely changed his mind, or if the immense pressure from leadership left him with no other choice but to fall in line. When you look at ancient texts alongside his claims, the similarities are hard to ignore. While today, alien encounters are seen as visitors from other planets, it's documented that ancients very much saw these encounters as spiritual. Their drawings show what appears to be those civilizations worshipping these entities as gods. Stephen claims that the reason they were seen as gods is that demons disguise themselves as beings of light. What makes this even more interesting is that it isn't just ancient history. Over the last century, certain spiritualists have claimed to physically channel what they believe were highly evolved beings or entities of light. They wrote entire books based on what these spirits told them, which eventually led to the creation of new religious movements. If Stephen is right, those spiritualists weren't talking to higher beings at all. They were just falling for the disguise. Now, what I found the most interesting about Stephen was the timing of his claims. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, right now it seems like there is a strong focus on UFOs and extraterrestrials. It seems like out of nowhere, this idea of aliens being among us is starting to be accepted by the mainstream. While world leaders and the media always rejected the idea, now all of a sudden, they aren't so resistant to it. They went from laughing at ufologists to taking their claims seriously and inviting them to speak on what they know. We can only speculate on what the motive behind this shift truly is. Are they just finally trying to set the record straight? Some people believe those in power were waiting for the perfect moment when society was ready to unveil their existence. This way, people wouldn't lose their minds when told this information. Is this what we are seeing right now? Do those in power feel like humanity is finally ready to accept the existence of extraterrestrials? The upcoming movie Disclosure Day seems to reiterate this exact idea. From what I read online, the movie will tell the story of a cybersecurity expert and a television meteorologist who team up to expose a major government cover-up regarding the existence of extraterrestrial life. I honestly feel like this movie deserves a breakdown when it comes out. If you want me to cover this movie the moment it hits theaters, comment Disclosure Day below. If I see enough of you interested, I'll make sure to get it done. Isn't it interesting that this movie is set to hit theaters in the same week when this story about a priest warning about UFOs goes viral? Everything seems to point to us being in the middle of a massive unveiling. Finally, it feels like we will get the answers the world has been desperate to find for centuries. But if we listen to what Stephen claims, these entities aren't extraterrestrials and shouldn't be trusted. They are spirits who are purposely trying to deceive humanity and misguide them. One detail that researchers frequently point to is the recent shift in terminology used by leaders. For decades, the public was taught to use the term UFO, which stands for Unidentified Flying Object. That phrase implies a physical craft traveling through our physical space. Recently, however, agencies and high-ranking officials shifted to using UAP, or Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena. The word anomalous is highly significant here. It completely removes the requirement for these objects to be physical or from outer space. In fact, many recent whistleblowers have actively avoided the word extraterrestrial, choosing instead to describe these anomalies as interdimensional. When you analyze that shift, the concept of an interdimensional being shares striking similarities with ancient descriptions of spiritual entities. They are said to exist outside of our normal perception of reality, manifest momentarily, and defy all laws of physics. This aligns perfectly with the theological subject Stephen is warning the world about. We also have to examine the actual encounters people report. When looking closely at modern abduction claims, the parallels to historical spiritual encounters are highly documented. Throughout the Middle Ages, people reported terrifying nightmare experiences characterized by sleep paralysis, a feeling of immense dread, and the presence of an unknown entity in the room. Historically, these were classified as spiritual attacks. Today, those exact same symptoms are often categorized as alien visitations. Some researchers argue the core experience has not changed at all, only our modern interpretation of it has. This brings us to the role of the media in the entertainment industry. Pop culture has undeniably shaped how society views these anomalies. Through countless films, television shows, and industry structures, audiences have been taught to accept a physical, scientific first contact. As society leaned further into scientific materialism, traditional belief in a spiritual realm began to fade. According to Stephen's theory, this societal shift created a massive vulnerability. The premise is that deceptive entities adapt their methods to fit the dominant belief system of the era. Because modern society prioritizes science and technology, disguising a spiritual phenomenon as an advanced technological one provides the perfect camouflage. Under this theory, The ancient mystical descriptions were simply traded for metallic ships and biological suits. If an intelligence truly wanted to manipulate a global population, presenting spiritual entities as benevolent visitors from space would act as the ultimate Trojan horse. Society might welcome them with open arms, expecting technological advancements while being completely unaware of the theological implications of what they're inviting in. The narrative has carefully shifted from fringe crazy theories to mainstream acceptance over decades. If Stephen's warnings are accurate, the incoming disclosure might not be a scientific awakening, but rather a carefully orchestrated spiritual trap. When you step back and look at the entire picture, Stephen's perspective adds a completely different layer to the ongoing UFO conversations. By comparing modern reports with historical texts, his claim raises interesting questions about how we interpret these anomalies. And if Stephen is right, the timing of everything happening right now might not be a coincidence. Ultimately, it is up to each of you to weigh his statements alongside the mainstream narrative and decide what you think is really going on. The conversation surrounding these events is only going to get more complex from here. Nowadays, it feels like we are in some very confusing times. While conversations about UFOs are more accepted, it seems like God is being pushed aside. It feels like people are searching for answers in all the wrong places. This is exactly why I recently released a video about why God allows evil. In that video, I made the perfect analogy to explain why God doesn't stop it from happening. If you want to learn why God allows evil, watch this video right now. And if you enjoy this content, make sure to hype it so you can help others find these important videos. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.